I don't know. I wouldn't like to call it. I mean, Katie and I have spoken about this event to see if we could pick who was going to win, and we went round in circles for lots of time. So I'm going to let her say what she thinks.
Oh, it's difficult because this is Steve's mastermind specialist subject, I think. But I think something that is really important with this race is that, like, they've had so much success in the 4x2 relay. There will be a lot of guys looking at this team from the outside and thinking, I want a piece of that, because like it's a real carrot.
And so here we are at episode 6 of our preview series, and it's an absolute pleasure to be joined by Steve and Katie of the Pullbuoy podcast to be discussing the curtain call of the Aquatics GB Swimming Championships for 2025.
Thank you for having us.
So yeah, just before, obviously, as we've been doing every episode, before we start looking at the racing programme, can you guys just give me a bit of a background about the Pullbuoy channels in terms of, obviously, the podcasts you run, social media, website, and what drives your passion for swimming in Britain?
Well, I'll start then. I'm sure Katie will chip in. But I started writing about swimming just before the Sydney Olympics in 2000. So I wrote a website, which was Pullbuoy. So I've done that for a very long time. And I had some ideas about podcasting a few years ago. And in 2013, finally found a way of doing it and teamed up with Katie and with Bob Ballard, who people will know from BBC 5 Live and other places. And we started podcasting about the 2013 World Championships. And it got a good reception. So we've been doing it ever since. So we're up to 12 years of podcasting as a trio. We've done all sorts of things in that time. I've made a couple of films, kept writing in the meantime, and it's been good. So Katie provides all the actual swimming knowledge, having swum in a World Championship final. I once swam in the final of the National Championships in a relay when not enough teams entered. So I think that sets our relative swimming pedigree. But it's been good fun. So we've done pretty much an episode a month since 2013, and there's always lots to talk about. So it's been really good.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's the driver behind the podcast and the website, but I am a massive swimming nerd and have followed it since I retired, like many years ago, like 13 years ago or something. And yeah, it's always fun to have other people who are also swimming nerds and be able to chat about it. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it. We've had lots of swimming highs and lows, I think, since 2013. So it's been quite a roller coaster.
I think in many senses, even if people aren't big podcasters, I think they've come across the Pullbuoy platform before, such as sort of the depth of knowledge and sort of love for some of the stats across the swimmers in that platform.
Yeah, I'm very much the equivalent swimming nerd to Katie, but I love digging into all the numbers and seeing how we're getting on and how things change over time, and being able to say that so-and-so has done the best thing ever or whatever it might be. So yeah, it's always good.
Brilliant. I look forward to tapping into that fan's eye perspective as we dive into the racing programme. So here we'll just kick off with the seeds for the opening 3 races of the night. So we're kicking off the Sunday racing programme with the men's 50 butterfly. Bruce D goes in that one from the multi-classification perspective as the sole competitor. And he was 4th in the Europeans in 2024 and is very much sort of a race that he builds into his IM. London crowd was brilliant for him last year as a sole competitor. But I know you guys are probably a bit more clued up on the men's Olympic pathway race. It's back in for this year. People will be bored of me saying that about the form events across this series, but obviously back on the World Champs programme, no QT, but there's some really strong competitors in there.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Jacob Peters, the fastest entrant, had a bit of an up and down season last year, so it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back from that. But I know Katie is especially keen to see the chap who's second fastest, certain Ben Proud.
Yeah, I think it's always nice when Ben's back doing his fly. I think, leading up to the Olympics, he tends to focus just on freestyle. But I think you can sort of forget, because he's so amazing at 50 freestyle, that he's also a brilliant fly swimmer. And I think it's an event that has a little bit less pressure on him and that he can just enjoy. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that sort of has translated, because he's just been so dominant for the last few years over that 53, but we haven't really had a chance to see him do 50 fly too much. I don't think he'll have it all his own way, though. Some really strong competitors in there. We've also got Josh Gammon, who's been pretty much right up there for the last few years, so I think he'll be one to watch as well.
There's less than 3/10 on those entry times for the top 4 seeds. So that's really going to be a very close one into the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could all come down to the start. We know that Ben is phenomenal off the blocks. So if he gets a good one, then the others will be playing catch up all the way. But yeah, I mean, he was world champion, wasn't he, in 50 fly 2017, I want to say. So he's got a really good pedigree. I still think he's the one to beat. But yeah, Jacob and Josh could give him a good race.
Yeah, that British record of Ben's was set in 2017. So I haven't got it directly in front of me if that was that race, but certainly he was racing fast in the flying that year. And so just moving on to the women's 800 freestyle. We've got 3 sort of top seeds in that, in terms of Amelie Bloxage on 8:30.05, Fleur Lewis 8:33.54, and then Michaela Glenister on 8 minutes 43 dead. And you look at Amelie Bloxage, this is kind of rounding out her week. She's entered in quite a number of these middle to long distance events. And she's the closest to that qualifying time. Do you see her being able to kind of push on, and how do you think she'll have to manage those energy levels through the week to try and attack that?
I think it's a massive program for distance freestylers now, with the addition of the 1500, which I know is not new anymore, but it is, if you're a distance freestyler, your workload is really, really, really high. She's really young. She can just keep going, which I think is to her advantage at the moment. The qualifying time is really tough, 8:25 on this one. It would involve a 5-second drop, which is, when someone's improving as quickly as she has, it's not out of the question. I'd really like to see her on an international team. But again, when someone's so young, they might find all sorts of events that they're good at. No pressure on this particular one, and no pressure on making it now. Was it 16? I don't know if she's actually 16 yet. I think she's still 15, isn't she? But 16 this year. I think it'll be really good to see what she can do. But if it's not this year, I have no doubt that it's going to come.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing her battle with Fleur Lewis. So Fleur's been really good short course. I think British record short course 1500, I want to say, but hasn't necessarily converted that to the long course pool. So I think if she can transfer that form from the small pool to the big one, then it should be a good showdown between these two. And like Katie says, I think Amelie being so young, you can the upside, if you like, on her form could be enormous. People drop big chunks of time at that age. And it would be great to see her do that as well.
Yeah, she had the opportunity to experience the international stage at World Short Course, and I'm hopeful that'll start building her experience forward as well to bring her to this stage and bring that more confidence.
Yeah, it's very different, isn't it, going to an international meet and seeing all these other people that you've followed or watched on the telly or maybe even idolised. So yeah, maybe that's a big boost for her and a motivation to make that step in the long course pool as well.
So we head into our third event of the night. It's the men's 200 backstroke. This is really quite an interesting event from a perspective of Ollie Morgan. Obviously did the triple in 2023, did the double of the 100 and 200 in 24. But you really can't rule out Luke Greenbank and Johnny Marshall and many others kind of in this race as well. It's really quite a competitive field.
Well, this was one of the best races, I think, of the championships last year. I remember I was watching, and I got a text from Katie saying, "Wow, what a last 50!" And I thought she was talking about Ollie sneaking past Luke to win, but actually she was talking about how fast Luke had come back. So it was, incredible as a race, because Ollie looked well out of it. But no, Luke didn't have things his own way in Paris, obviously with the DQ and the heats, which was unfortunate. But he looked in great shape. So if he's maintained that form and the sort of desire to get it all back, then you can't count him out. But Ollie's been in great form this year, so I think he starts favourite.
I think it's really good for like British male backstroke. Obviously, we've got Ollie, who seems to be improving all the time. We've got Luke, who I think has a point to prove, and we've got another green bank in there with his younger brother. We've also got Johnny Marshall, who'll be coming back off the back of NCAAs, and he seems to be having a great year out in Florida. And we're still so strong, and that's even with Brody Williams having retired recently. So it's looking really good. I think that'll be a really good race. It'll be interesting to see what kind of form everyone's in. I think we've seen some really strong racing from Ollie already this year. I haven't seen that much from Luke, but hopeful for a really good race on that one.
I think the jump up from 25 yards to 50 metres for Johnny will be really interesting. Obviously, he's got really great turns underwaters off the back of that. He swam really well at the SEC meet just recently. I think he won both the 100-yard, 200-yard backstroke there. We'll see, closer to champs what he does at NC2As, but coming straight off the back of that into a big pool, it didn't seem to phase him last year with a similar arrangement. And if he can do the same again, then don't come out in this one, even though he's probably, more suited to the 100.
And I know you guys like a little bit of stats. So I looked up, and Ollie Morgan was 10th in 2022. Do you see anyone else, perhaps not winning it, but being a bit of a surprise package in this race at all, making that sort of jump?
Oh, that's a question.
Ooh. Well, I'm now looking down my list.
I'm going to find the entry list. Yeah.
I mean, there's no one that leaps out, but that doesn't mean that no one can do it. We've seen huge leaps from people in the past when it comes to these big trials meet. I always think of, was it Chloe Tutton in 2016?
Yeah.
Who just rocketed to the very top and made the Olympic team sort of seemingly out of nowhere. Now I'm sure that's really unfair to her and her coach, who probably knew it was on the cards, but you don't know what people are doing in this early part of the year, and sometimes things just fit together a bit like we've seen with Angharad Evans last year, and people just find that missing puzzle piece and put it all together, and it just comes out at trials. So that's my favorite thing when that happens. I love it when someone unexpectedly makes a team, particularly in an Olympic year. So I'm always up for that kind of story.
That's really nice reference back. I suppose that's the long form view of swimming. You see these stories and unveil themselves over time, and that's the beauty of sport. So we'll just take a pause there to have a look at the seeds for the upcoming 3 races at the back end of the programme on Sunday. So we jump back in now with the women's 100-metre breaststroke, and we'll start with the second para-swimming race of the night. We look at this final from last year, and it has 4 Paralympic champions, 2 Paris Paralympic silver medalists in there from that 2024 final. And it's also a race we see the return of Bethany Firth, the S14 athlete, having given birth to her baby daughter in 2024. So that's a really interesting race. I don't know if you guys have any sort of insight as to where you might see that one going.
Oh my goodness, the quality in this one it's remarkable, isn't it? If you haven't got a Paralympic medal, you might as well not be in it. It's ridiculous, the depth that there is in this event, and I think it's really interesting with the way the points work out. Basically, it could go anywhere, couldn't it? I mean, it was a tie last year, as I recall, between Brock Whiston and Ona Winifrith. So I think they probably start as the favourites, but pick 1 from 8, I think, for this one.
Yeah, I think, like as you say, I think we've got a couple of world record holders in there, multiple Paralympic gold medalists, European record holders. I mean, it is a really stacked field. So, I genuinely don't know where I'd put my money on it. But that's as well. It's a good point that you make about Bethany Firth. I think typically we're used to seeing her in freestyle events, but for her to be making that comeback, which is something that we're starting to see a little bit more in sport, and I think is so impressive, and it's kind of such a good good message to other athletes that it can be done. That'll be really, really great to have her back.
Yeah, certainly a race I'm looking forward to. Obviously, I work a lot closer with the Paris swimming team as press officer in recent years, and that race is certainly one that's always stacked and fun to watch. But moving over to sorry, Steve.
I was just going to say, and Iona's just come off a really good meet at the Para World Series in Barcelona as well. She's run really well over there, so her form is obviously coming into the right place at the right time. And she's only young, isn't she? She'll only just be 14 at trials, and she's already a Paralympic silver medalist. So in that event, so I think if I had to pick, I'd pick her. But we will see. It could go anywhere.
It certainly is, and yeah, the sort of World Series has been in Europe the past couple of legs. A couple of athletes have been out in Italy, and then Barcelona recently as well. So that's really been some of the preparation that the Paris swimming team has managed to use into this meet. And I know you'll be excited about the 100 breaststroke in the Olympic pathway side as well. Angharad Evans' name has already cropped up across some of our chat. She comes in British record holder. Alongside that, we've got Cara Hanlon and Anna Morgan as the second and third seeds on time heading in. But yeah, where do you kind of see this race moving over time with the way Angharad's performances have been going?
Well, we're biased because Angharad is a friend of the podcast, and we spoke to her recently. She's just so interesting about her move to Stirling and how well everything's fitted together for her after an experience in the US that she didn't particularly enjoy. It just sounds like she's really found her love for the sport again, and to be honest, with how positive she is about things and how much more improvement she felt that she had to come when we spoke to her, I can't see beyond her. I think I think she just seems so confident and is doing so well that bar some kind of injury or illness, I would expect her to come out on top, and I would hope that she would be down by that the British record that she set last year. I suppose just looking at the entry list, what strikes me is the Scottish teams are really leading the way on the women's breaststroke at the moment, which is interesting to see. I mean, Cara Hanlon's been great for a good couple of years and will be disappointed just having missed that Olympic team last year, so we could see something really interesting from her. I'm also really looking forward to the women's 200 breaststroke because Angharad's making massive leaps in that, so that'll be a great race as well elsewhere in the week.
Absolutely. I mean, Angharad was, as Katie says, really, really confident about heading into the season, feeling really good about where she was going with her training. She's run really well at Bucks. Some really, really solid, maybe not properly in season. I think they probably had a little rest for that, but it was still some really, really impressive swimming, especially in the relays there. She dropped some really, really fast 100 breast splits in their Stirling's medley relay teams there. So she's obviously got, coming from a good place. And I don't think we really know what her ceiling is at the minute. I mean, she's so new to sort of international swimming in 2024 with that big breakthrough run to get to Paris, and then kind of took to the international stage really easily, it seemed like. So I think there's a huge upside to her. Whether we'll see it in London or whether it will come later in the year in Singapore, perhaps we'll wait and see. But like Katie, I think she'll be down around that British record mark.
It's also, I guess, in terms of the future of breaststroke in Britain, like there's a couple of names there that are really exciting for the future. So we've got Theodora Taylor and Jasmine Carter, who are both only 16, right, in the top few seeds. Jasmine, I think it must be her sister, both from Skye, from Basildon, just right up there in the rankings across loads of different events. We actually see Theodora Taylor as well in the freestyle events. So like really, really good young talents, which I think we can be excited about for the future.
That's a really promising thing to see is these athletes coming through. But in many senses, that race isn't actually done in any set. Cara is very much a competitor and actually isn't too far away from that qualifying time if she can be pulled along and create a race in that.
What she's very good at is finishing strong. I mean, we saw that at trials last year that Angharad and Imogen Clark went out super quick. And Cara was just that little bit off the pace, but came back really, really strongly on that second 50. I mean, she's got a great 200 as well. So if Angharad doesn't get it right or blows up a little bit, then there's always the chance that Cara can get over the top of her for that touch. But yeah, the qualifying time is certainly within her compass, I think.
It's going to be a great race. And yeah, we'll just move on to the women's 100-meter freestyle. Again, from a multi-classification side, we've got some great races in here. Tully Kearney, obviously Paralympic champion, Ellie Chalice, Tony Shaw, Scarlett Humphrey. But particularly one I want to highlight is Callie-Anne Warrington. She broke the British record to come fourth in the S10 class in Paris. So it'd be interesting to see for her doubling up alongside her butterfly early in the week, how much she can push this event along a bit for herself.
Yeah, I agree. I think just being off that podium in Paris might make her really, really hungry to see what she can push along this year. I also think it's really interesting seeing how far up the ceiling Poppy Maskell is in this event. It doesn't look like it's an event that she typically swims internationally, but she's incredible entry time, so she'll be interesting to watch. But I think in terms of an overall winner, I'd probably be looking towards Tully Kearney, as you say. But it'll be a great race.
Yeah,
sorry, Steve. I was just going to say, with Poppy, it'll be a great experience for her to kind of integrate in the heats as well. The S14s obviously swim the 4x1 mixed relay, but it's not an individual event, so you often see some of the S14s swim the heats to get that experience. These sort of championships.
Yeah, and it would be great to see what she does. And Tully is the favourite, as Katie says. I mean, she's loads of world records. She's was quite a way ahead of everybody last year in this event on points. And although I think Alice Ty and Tony Shaw probably would like to think they can catch up along with Callie-Anne, I think they've got a bit of a bridge to make if Tully's on form. So yeah, I agree with Katie that she's the favourite.
And moving over to the Olympic pathway race, no Anna Hopkin retired this year, so it leaves that championship title to be filled by a new name. We've got Eva Caro coming into that as the fastest seed, 54.45, but Freya Anderson building back her program after obviously not being in as many events last year as she kind of recovered back into the season. So that's going to be an interesting one, probably from the perspective both individually, but actually what the relay can do after that 7th in Paris and building that new generation of the team.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see who steps up to fill Anna's shoes. Freya's been a real force. Sorry, Freya Anderson, there's now 2 of them, has been a real force in that event for a while now. But Eva looks like, she's sort of the next sprinter for GB. And she's looked so great this year, obviously breaking that world junior record in the 50 free short course. I haven't seen that much from her long course yet. But I think she's probably the one I'm most excited about. I do think it's interesting seeing Freya Colbert in that 100 free, and I just think she just seems to be improving all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if she had a pretty big drop in her. And then, as we discussed earlier, Theodora Taylor's back. She'll already have had the 100 breaststroke, which she's a pretty top seed in, but she's right up there in the 100 free as well, at only 16. So I think it looks exciting, and I think there could be some people, relays are always a chance to make your way onto a team. And we could see some new names on the team if we're able to, get the times that hit that qualifying time.
And I think what I'm interested in, obviously, I want to see how Eva does in that second season, kind of at this level. She's PB'd already in 100, I think, in the last few months. So I think there's possibly another drop, maybe a 53 to come from her. But I'm really interested to see Freya Anderson's form. She's just moved from Bath to Stirling. So it'd be interesting to see if she gets a bounce from that move up to Scotland, training with Lucy Hope, obviously, who's another one of the high seeds, as well as Katie Shanahan and others up in Stirling. So that will be a really interesting thing, especially if she's coming back from that slightly illness affected season last year. We saw that she was getting there at the World Short Course, so hopefully that will continue.
Certainly, yeah, we'd love to see Freya Anderson back in her best.
Definitely.
I mean, this last event doesn't need too much introduction, but I'll start with the multi-classification event, in which we've got Will Allard set that incredible world record in the S14 class last year. It's solely an S14 race bar Harvey Phillips, who is in there as an S4 athlete. It's hard not to call this race one way, though, looking at the way Will has been over the past couple of years.
Definitely not. No, I mean, he was another one who was in good form in Barcelona on the Para World Series. He's got quite a margin over his competitors in this event. I mean, he's ranked really high up in the event overall in terms of his time. Super impressive last year in this event, and again in Paris. So yeah, I think it's all about him, really.
And that kind of leads us on to the event that everyone kind of talks about in many senses. There's loads of great races, but this one partially in the sense of that historic relay that has been repeated from Tokyo to Paris, and the names that have been involved in that. So yeah, we've got Matt Richards leading the seeded times on a 1:44.69, Duncan Scott in behind him, James Guy, Jack McMillan, Kieran Bird. There's no Tom Dean as he focuses his program just on the 100 as he's taking a little bit more time out of the pool. But that race is one that, as a neutral, it's just so exciting to watch. And yeah, how do you see that one playing out this year in terms of what you've studied on form and who's been where?
Roll of dice, Lloyd. I think. I think the only thing we can be sure of is I think Tom's pretty happy with after his break that he's pre-selected for the relay for this one, because it's going to be fast and furious and it's going to be tricky for all of them again. Obviously Matt's in there, Duncan's in there, James is in there. Jack McMillan was super impressive in the heats in the relay in Paris. I think he's got another drop to come from him, maybe a 1:45 off a flat start. And James obviously set lifetime best for the first time in 9 years in this event last year, leading off in Paris. So I think he's probably got an inkling that he could get to the wall first, but there's so much pedigree, isn't there, between Duncan and Matt. Duncan's such a great racer. He's had that bit of a break that he told us about when we spoke to him in January, but he's back into things quite quickly, I think, and he does tend to come up to speed quite fast. I don't know, I wouldn't like to call it. I mean, Katie and I have spoken about this event to see if we could pick who was going to win, and we went round in circles for lots of time, so I'm going to get her say what she thinks.
Oh, it's difficult because this is Steve's mastermind specialist subject, I think. But I think something that is really important with this race is that, like, they've had so much success in the 4x2 relay. There'll be a lot of guys looking at this team from the outside and thinking, I want a piece of that, because like it's a real carrot. There are prizes to be won if you can get yourself in that top 6, 7, however many people ultimately get taken. So I wouldn't count anyone out who's on the fringes. We've got the Litchfields in there who are great racers, both Olympians, I think would like a piece of this. And like, plenty of others. Just because they haven't been on the team so far, it doesn't mean they can't make it. In terms of if I had to call it, just because of the last few major meets and the way that the results have panned out, I think it's hard to bet against Matt, but it's going to be close. It always is, isn't it? It's everyone just wants a piece of this relay so much, and it just means so much to people. So I think it's great that we've got such an incredible depth in this event, and it'll be a really exciting race at trials.
I want to throw one in out of left field that I'm keeping an eye on in this event, and indeed the 100, is Alex Painter of Millfield, now also of Florida. He swam really well at SECs as well. He was really great in the 100 last year. Be interesting to see if he can squeeze himself into certainly the final, and then maybe if he does, whether he'll get into contention for that top 6 or 7. But I'm looking out for him, I think, more in the 100, but maybe in this event as well.
Just before we wrap up talking about the racing program, you referenced how you chat with Duncan earlier this year. I just want to ask you, what was your key takeaway from that chat with Duncan in terms of his experience of being part of this event, being part of that relay?
What do we take away from it?
Most relaxed man in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
He's just really relaxed and really nice, and has a mega fan base. Sure. Those were my main takeaways, I think. So he wants to be in Singapore where all the fans are.
I think from a swimming perspective, he just loves racing, doesn't he? He's very conscious of what's going on. I mean, we're talking about that relay with him. He was very conscious about where everyone was. He knew exactly what he was going to do, but he's got so much confidence in his own ability that he kind of was, he knew what he was going to do. He knew no one was going to go past him. He knew that he had to do it for the team. And he's just the ultimate racer, really. I don't think you want anyone else on the back end of a relay at all. But yeah, as Casey says, he's just super relaxed about everything. We're very lucky to have him in British swimming, I think, because he's remarkable.
Yeah, he certainly is. Yeah, it's been fantastic chatting to you about the Sunday schedule. Next up, we're going to have a look at your predictions, but just for everyone else at home, here's how the Podcaster Predict works.
Podcasters Predict. Guests across our preview series are participating in a bit of friendly competition, putting forward their predictions for 6 set races across the meet. A correct gold medal prediction scores them 5 points, while 2 points will be scored if their chosen swimmer places second, and 1 point for bronze. Follow Aquatics GB socials to see who takes the Podcasters Predict crown.
So there we have it. And yeah, as we come to the final podcaster predictions of the week, as we've been doing, we've been asking each of our podcasters to tease out 2 or 3 that they are steering their sails towards. So yeah, Steve, I don't know if you want to kick off between the two of you, which one of those races you might want to do, and then yeah, between you, perhaps share a couple of those predictions for us.
Well, I think we were talking earlier about the men's 100 breaststroke, because that's quite an interesting one with no Adam Peaty entered this year, no James Wilby either. So possibly a bit of a changing of the guard. 3 people who are quite close up the top with Archie Goodburn, Greg Butler and Max Morgan. And we're interested to see what Max Morgan do. And I think we are tipping him for the win in that event. I see he says, looking at Katie to make sure she still agrees with me.
Yep. I agree with you. Let's go. I mean, it is really close, as you say. So I think, but I think he's been improving really quickly, and I think that is a good shout.
Have you got another one for us, Katie, in terms of races that you'd like to offer up?
I think I will pick what I think of as the most easy one, which is the women's 50 free, which I can't see past Eva Akaro on that. I just think she's so exciting to watch and has been dropping time like nobody's business on this 50 free. We obviously saw that really fast short course 50, and I'd like to see what she can do long course.
Good one. 100% agree with that, which is good because we spoke about it earlier. But yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what Eva can do in that one.
That's brilliant. Well, I'll leave it with those 2, one each from both of you. And before we completely wrap this up, I just want to, firstly say thank you so much for your time and joining us for this episode, but also just what's coming up with some of your future projects and lined up across your channels.
Well, I kind of alluded to it earlier that I started doing all this nonsense in 2000. So come May, it will be Pullbuoy's 25th anniversary. So there'll be quite a bit of stuff coming out around that. The big thing that I've been doing is I have been making a little feature about the 4x2, because obviously that's been unbelievably successful for Great Britain over the last 10 years. So I've spoken to a number of people who swim on that over that period, and hopefully a few more to join. So there'll be a bit of a podcast series and a bit of a feature coming in May about that relay, which has been super exciting, speaking to various people about it. So look out for that in a month or 2's time.
Brilliant. And yeah, just again, thank you so much for your time. For those that are listening at home, I'll pop a couple of the links across to the Pullbuoy podcast in our description below, so you can go and check them out and have a listen. Yeah, thanks again, and we'll catch you soon.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Thank you.